One thing for sure about the Madlanga Commission, they do not discriminate. This board chair will sit anybody from the CFO to the cleaner right to the bottom of the organogram. Today, we have Major Phiri, who is a supervisor of security deployment. He is right at the bottom of the food chain, but he is definitely at the top of the action. Major Phiri comes with all sorts of titles, from Mashonisa to water mafia to access to the big five. He's got a lot of access to the big five and money launderer. Today, in this recording, we're only going to deal with one title that he has, which is money launderer. He is a top expert in money laundering with a lot of stupid mistakes. Oops, I've got to mention one more title that he has. He is a TMPD major. That is his rank with TMPD. So with that said, Major Phiri is a TMPD security coordinator who receives instructions, verifies sites, and signs deployment letters. But he says he does not choose providers or control payments. With that said, this is a structure of a typical money laundering process, starting with placement, layering, and integration. So, Major Phiri has a long list, rap sheet of shit that he has been doing with money transfers. So, out of this whole range of money laundering things, I'm only going to focus on the top 5 or 6 risky moves that he did with money. Major Phiri has money patterns that are not normal personal banking, like your salary, bond payments, and car payments. He has multiple parallel money streams, lump sum, large lump sum sums like the 1.4 million, the 876,000, 300,000 K, things like that. Repeated mid-sized transfers. This is where the Mashonisa part comes in. Linked flows between same actors. That is Musupe, Ubis, and Papado. Remember these 3 entities as we go on. Investment style explanations with 8.5% returns. That's already beyond normal personal finances. Same names keep recurring. This is where it gets interesting. William Musupe, Papi Mogashwa, Aluwani Makua, and Guppies linked individuals like Calvin, the owner. They are not one-off mentions. They sit across multiple transactions and explanations that he gives. The company names, like I've mentioned, as Guppies, Papado, Ramalepe Security. We buy cars, BMWs and stuff. Tender companies, private companies, personal accounts. The red flag is that the same people, same company names are repeated throughout all of his transactions. They appear in procurement environment, payment flows, personal banking explanations. Going back into this money laundering categories, I'm going to focus on a few transactions in each category, starting with number one, William Musupe loan, which happened 13 May 2025. He got 150,000 rands in his account. His explanation is that it's a loan. The risk is that this cash repayment is linked to a service provider network. William Musupe is an employee at Gubis. At the same time, he is affiliated with Papado. So this payment of 150,000 was paid via Papado. So you need to understand this. There's two entities here. Gubis, who is a service provider, sends money to Papado, and Papado pays Phiri 150,000. Let that sink in. Second placement happened 9 August 2025. This is 300,000. This is paid from a person by the name of Aluwani Makua, who is affiliated with Ramalepe Security Services. Ramalepe Security Service is one of these 22 companies that got a tender TMPD 2. If you go back to my previous recordings, I did explain what all this is. So, and those that have been listening to my recordings would understand what these 22 companies mean. Ramalepe is one of the service providers that sent 300,000 to Phiri. Phiri's explanation, he says this is a repayment of a loan that he gave to this company, I don't know when. The risk is this direct financial link between an official person, him as a major of TMPD, and a service provider, direct like that. That's the risk. I will leave this here for you to process. Moving on to the layering. Moving on to the second category, right here. Layering. First transaction in the layering transaction is Papado split payments. 20 May 2023, he received 3 payments on the same day of 35,000 rands each into 3 different personal accounts. So these payments are coming from Papado. Papado wires money into 3 different accounts that belong to Phiri. Here is explanation of these payments. He says it's a car loan payments. So he says the split transactions. So the risk here is that these split transactions and shifting explanations coming from Papi, William, Musupe, and then and Phiri in the middle of it. You see, now I've repeated these names about 3 times already. Same names, they keep passing money through each other. Okay, so the second one, still in the layering environment, is the Phiri service provider payment. The date is unclear, but it happened sometime in 2025. This is 200,000 payment to a service provider account, which is Gupi's linked. The explanation for this that Phiri was not clear. He did not clearly explain what this transaction is about. The risk here is that Phiri as a TMPD major is paying into a service provider ecosystem. It's not clear what this payment is all about. But anyway, that's what the layering is about. Layering is very confusing. Now we move on to the last category, which is integration. Investment flows. The date is unclear, but all this transaction happened in 2025. 1.5 million and another 1.3 million. These are linked Aluwani associates. The explanation that Major Phiri gave us is that these investment returns were 8.5% per month. This is a Mashonisa kind of thing. The risk is here, this is a high retain claim which ties to a service provider environment. Aluwani is affiliated with Ramapele Security. Ramapele Security is a service provider for the city of Tshwane. And then number 2, still in the integration place, is the Stokvel. The Stokvel payout. The dates were not really mentioned, but I'm assuming this happened in 2025. 876,000 from a social club. He says this was a Stokvel payout. The large informal inflow requires verification. This amount requires some verification. The final snapshot in the placement, we have money entering from William Musupe and Ramapele Securities directly to Phiri. In the layering, we have Papado splits, Gupi's network, and service provider payments. In the integration, we have the investment story, the Stokvel, and personal use. Funds enter from connected individuals, move through linked companies, and are later explained as loans, investment, personal expenditures, social payouts, loans to families, and things like that. I hope this explains what really this testimony of Andrew Phiri.
That you allocated to
See you on the next one.
They are meaning the gate,